All right. Welcome to episode 6 of Hobby Quick Hits, your short form hobby podcast. My name's John Newman. First off, let me start out by saying, with everything going on in the world, I hope you, and your family and friends, and everyone are doing okay and are healthy and fine. Continue to follow the protocols. There's been some developments as far as quicker testing and a possible vaccine. So, not all is gloom and doom. But again, we got to do the right thing so we can get through this and get back to a sense of normalcy. And today's show is pertaining to health too in the hobby and mental health in that respect. And truthfully, I really debated doing this show, guys. It's a subject that a lot of people don't like to broach or talk about. Um, uh, a lot of people who may be uh, in this, who may fit the profile, don't want to admit that case, and so it's like any addiction, right? Now, everyone is a lot of times is in denial. It's not me, not happening, and that sort of thing. And when we think of addiction, we first things we think of is drug and alcohol, and obviously those are two big ones. Okay, but addictions can be anything. Okay, addiction can be being obsessive about something or hobbies, and that's what this show is going to focus on. And I've seen it on a lot of different lines. So let me tell you some things I've been involved with over the years. I'm old, so I've been involved in a lot of things. Got into hold'em poker. I still play a little bit, not nearly as much. Softball, men's competitive softball. I've played since the age of 18. I'm now 48, so I don't know if we're going to have a year this year, but this would have been my 30th season on the softball field as a competitive softball player. Getting a little bit long in the tooth, and I don't know how much longer I can play on the younger level. There is a senior league that I'm eyeing, but I've played that for 30 years, and obviously the cards I've been in almost 40 years, and I can tell you. With my involvement in poker and softball and cards, I've seen addictive things happen to friends and acquaintances, even people I don't know. I've just heard this is what happened, and so I think it's something we need to talk about. We need to discuss. I know, and what really made me think about doing this episode, quite frankly, was the downtime that a lot of us have right now. Downtime is can be productive sometimes and great, allows you to catch up on things, some things you neglected, kind of catch up and get ahead of. And then downtime for others can be actually detrimental. And someone who is addicted to something, downtime is the enemy of someone like that. That's sometimes the worst thing that can happen. So with all the downtime and seeing some recent events that I'll discuss here, I thought this would be a time to talk about it. And I didn't just want to talk about it and bring out examples. I want to go over what the signs are. Maybe it's something you're dealing with. You don't even know you're in it. You know what I mean? And if you think you are, or you are, what you can do maybe to break free of your addiction that's making maybe you unhealthy or your lifestyle unhealthy, and then where to turn if you're at your wits end, and where can you reach out to someone else, like you've tried everything yourself to get help, and you can't do it no more. Well, who else can you turn to? So that's what this show is going to be about. So, like I mentioned, I used to play some hold'em, poker, small rooms, and not like that. But I had a friend of mine who not so much. He used to bet big. He'd be up, then he'd be really down, and he was barely sleeping. He was playing. I don't want to say 24/7, but man, the minute he woke up, he wasn't bathing. I mean, he wasn't socializing no more. Just poker became his life, and it affected family. And finally, he, you know, people, family members, almost like intervention, to show intervention. They kind of, basically forced him to get some help. And thankfully for him, he was able to get that help and break free of the hold. Sometimes the things we enjoy get a stranglehold on us. We don't even see it, and in this case, he didn't see it. He was able, long story short, he was able to get the help he needed and break free of that stranglehold. I've played ball. I talk about softball. I've played ball in my younger days. I used to travel a lot with softball on tournaments out of state, in state, all over the Northeast, Ohio, Pennsylvania. I used to travel quite a bit, maybe 1 or 2 weekends a month. There was more tournaments than that. So I had I was just married at the time too. And so I was thinking about starting a family. So I couldn't do it every weekend, but there was guys, teammates of mine that were playing every weekend. And during the week, 4 or 5 nights. And it was softball 7 days a week. And some of these guys were married, had young kids that were in sports themselves or dance recitals, and they were missing a lot of these events, these family events, their kids' events, something I vowed never to do when I became a dad. And many of them are divorced now. As I'm not saying softball in this case was the only thing, but it was really a big focus of their life. And I'll be honest with you, I played with a few guys where I internally questioned, like, do they love this game more than their own kids, their own wife, their own family? Like, because many of them seem to choose the game over their significant others. And I always, I remember even having conversations, quite frankly, with a couple of them, because they were friends of mine. I was personally worried, and I wanted to try to reach out and help. And they assured me, nah, John, it's all right. My wife understands. My kids, know, and blah blah blah. And most of those guys, a good percentage of those guys I had that brief conversation with, wound up getting divorced, or they're no longer married to that spouse. And it's sad. It doesn't have to go that way. Even myself just played a little less softball. I didn't travel every week. I didn't play every night of the week. I went from playing probably 4 nights to 3. And now, even at my advanced stage here, I'm in one league and I sub in another. So, most weeks, the most I'll play is 2 nights, and that's not every week. And so you just need to balance stuff out. And then, let's turn it out of the cards. This is a hobby show, not a softball or poker show. But again, with cards, I had a store for 4 years. I toured the Northeast there doing shows in various states. And that I did probably 3 weekends went back in my heyday. And so I got to know a lot of the guys I was set up with or near. You get to know dealers on a personal level. And some of these dealers, just that's all they did was just cards 24/7. I mean, some of them slept very little. If you're single, a lot of them were single. And they really didn't even have time that their spouse was the industry, was the hobby, the card industry. And those that were married, a few of them even told me it's affecting their marriage. They don't know if their marriage is going to survive their hobby slash business, and when if that was mentioned to me, I always said, well, talk to someone, get some help, try to save your marriage. If you love your wife and your kids, I mean, try to solve that. I mean, cards will be here whenever you want, and you can set your own schedule. And that's something we're going to be talking about later in the show. And I saw some of them guys, their marriages did not last, or were not saved. And, now they're divorced. Now they're paying child support. Now they don't have that disposable income now to travel as much. So, anything can become an addiction, can get a stranglehold on you. And so that's what this show's about. And we're going to talk to it from a hobby aspect, obviously. How do you know? Like, obviously, most people that are addicted are in denial. They don't know, or I just love it. It's my passion. They come up with excuses, especially if it's not alcohol or drugs, which can have real negative health effects on our bodies and organs and whatnot. Hobby, being addicted to the hobby is not going to cause heart failure or cirrhosis of the liver. At least I don't think so. Or so, but it can cause mental unhealthiness and strife in our personal lives and that sort of thing. So it's still uh, not good and something we should talk about and discuss. And that's why we're here doing the show. So what are the signs? Like I said, most people don't know when they're in this predicament. Others tend to realize first rather than the individual themselves. And so what are the signs that your sports card hobby is an addiction and not a healthy one? Okay. So one of them is debt. You acquire a good amount of debt. You're running up credit cards. It's almost like a gambler. The next big sale I have, I'll pay some of that down. And then that doesn't happen, or you buy something else, or that deal's too good to be true. And so you got all this money going out and not necessarily all that money coming back. And obviously, if you have discretionary income, there's always that level, hey, I can afford to spend this. But I'm talking about an unhealthy level where you're really spending money you don't have. And I'll self confession here. A few years back, I ran up a personal credit card to 10K. Not for some say, oh, that's it, and for others like, oh my God. I guess it depends on the individual. But $10,000, and I've talked about it on Sports Card Nation. That card is zeroed out now, and I did that by cutting back on the wax I open, and I've continued from cutting back on the wax. Each year, I try to open less and less wax. To me, that's generally a losing proposition. With all due respect to the hobby, and don't get me wrong, I love doing it. I just learned that to get to where I need to be, I just got to open a lot less and buy singles rather than break down boxes after boxes, cases, and that sort of thing. So getting into debt, getting in over your head, having owing a lot of money from purchases, you making the hobbies one sign, I think. And for me, it wasn't addiction. It was just not making very wise decisions, which I've cleaned that up. So another sign is hiding purchases from a spouse or family. If you live at home, and you're hiding purchases from your parents. If you're married and you don't tell your spouse, yeah, I spent this, I bought that, or they ask. Even worse is it's one thing not saying nothing, it's another thing to lie. So then they inquire and you lie about it or don't disclose that. That's a sign that you may be addicted. Another thing is you obsess over it. Like from the minute you wake up, you're ready to post, look, go on eBay, search, buy. So, I mean, it just consumes you, becomes your life. You maybe form more relationships. That's the thing I notice being involved in social media with the shows I do. And I'm not saying everyone that is in this that or says this is addicted, but I see a lot of people, hobby family and my boy, and that's great to form those friendships. I've formed them from being on social media too. But with all due respect, I love any of my social media friends and whatnot, but they're not in the flesh people here in where I live and family. I don't replace real people. Not that they're not real people, but you know what I mean. I don't replace people I have daily interactions with in person with someone, miles away that maybe you meet once a year at the National, and that's great. That's really one of the highlights of the National is where people can meet once a year. And those friendships, you can't put a price on that. I'm not saying don't make them. I'm just saying try to keep them in the right perspective. They are what they are. If you're in the hospital or God forbid sick, you're going to need those people that are your family and people you're around with on a daily basis are going to be the ones that are going to be by your bedside or come bring you a meal at home if you're homebound and that sort of thing. Okay, and you got to put the priorities in order. Those people, like it or not, no matter how much you like your online friends and personalities, those people home or around you need to take precedent because they're going to be the ones that pick you up when you're down, carry you when you're sick, and help you out when you need them most. And so when those relationships start getting neglected because you're giving more time and attention to online friends that maybe you meet once a year, maybe not even that once a year, if neither one of you go to the national, we need to prioritize and rank people. I hate to say it like that, but rank people in the proper perspective. Who's going to be there for you on a day in day in basis. Uh, every day in person, and we need to make sure we're paying them attention and not ignoring them and due to the hobby or whatnot. So if you're starting to live more online than in real life, and a lot of times you won't be the one, frankly, that notices it. It's going to be someone else that says to you, hey, you haven't called me in 3 weeks. You haven't answered your phone. I've called you every day or every other day. This may be an issue. You're obsessing about your hobby. From the minute you wake up, maybe it's even affecting your sleeping patterns. Maybe you're not sleeping well because you're up too late on eBay, surfing and checking stuff out and buying stuff and whatnot. So that's another sign. Another sign is being anxious or depressed when you're away from the hobby. So I had a friend of mine that was in the hobby, or he was, I forgot, it was softball player. We went on a non-softball vacation together, my family and his family. And we're having, we're having a good time. We're having a few drinks. We're at the beach, doing different events where we were, and you could see it. He was not enjoying himself in the same vein. And I asked him, like, "You okay, man? You don't seem to." He's like, "Man, there was a tournament this weekend. I'm missing. They got a sub for." And he was actually here. We are in the tropics, the sun, having fun, away from work, and he was actually depressed that he was away from softball. And I told him, I said, "Man, you gotta get some help. That's not, that's not healthy." And so that could be with cards. Maybe you're on vacation with your family and you're not enjoying it like you would normally, or what you would think a normal person would enjoy a vacation. Maybe your spouse even said, limit your phone time. Don't pick up your phone. We're on vacation, and maybe you're on it. Maybe it's affecting you. You're anxious, nervous, depressed. Here you are on vacation and you're depressed because you're away from the hobby and you rather be doing that than spending time with your family or enjoying your vacation. If you get to that point, there may be some issues. And so a lot of times with this stuff, it's going to be a family member or a friend that notices it first. Okay. And, we always have excuses, right? I just enjoy it. It's my passion, and that sort of thing. But we need to heed the signs. We need to react and listen to what other people are saying. In the downtime we have, again, one of the reasons I did the show with the downtime we have now with the COVID-19, uh, a lot of these people that may be in this boat have a lot more time to get even more swallowed up and consumed by the addiction. And so I thought it was a good time to do this show. Every show I do is not going to be maybe so deep and dark all the time, but I thought it was, something that we needed to do. And, we seen recently, I don't know the individual personally, pretty famous online hobby celebrity, if you will, Jab's family. He recently announced he was getting divorced. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not a huge fan of his or what he, I have my thoughts on him. I'll mainly keep to myself. But I knew even before he made the announcement, I'm like, man, this guy's just constantly traveling, posting. He's got young kids. How is this dynamic even working? And sure enough, he announced he was getting a divorce. And the thing that struck me, he was very sad, or at least he came across that way on his announcement video, and gonna not see his kids as much, and yada yada yada. And then it seemed like 2 days later, he was posting just as much and right back on the horse. And I just thought it was very odd. For me, my son's 20, different situation. But if this hobby caused my marriage to fail and my relationships with other people to go in decline and fail, I'm gonna that's gonna be a wake up call for me to solve it, fix it. And if it causes my marriage to fail or a divorce, I'm not going to jump right back in and go right back to it. But everyone's different. I thought I'd bring that up as if that's more of a recent case and study. And what can you do? You feel like maybe this is something you're dealing with, or you're in it. Maybe you finally come to that realization, and now you want help, and you want, first thing, maybe set up a schedule, folks. If you think the hobby's become an addiction, set up a healthy schedule. From I get home at work at 5. I'm going to eat dinner, shower, talk to my family, and from 8 to 9, I'm going to do some hobby stuff. Then I'm going to get ready to wind the day down, get ready for bed, so I can be productive at work the next day. Set up some schedule, and especially on the weekends. If you have Saturdays and Sundays off, you want to set that up. You got things around the house. If you're married, or things you have to do, make sure those are getting attended to. So set up a schedule, number one. Number two, stick to it. Be disciplined. It's like a diet. You might have a bad day. All right, it doesn't make you a criminal, but get back and try to stay on that schedule. If you get to the point where maybe it's not working out for you, and I know this is hard, but maybe take a cold turkey break. Just no social media. Close that phone. Close that computer. It might be hard, but sometimes I've heard that people who've done that have kind of beat the addiction themselves. They've taken a 1 to 2 week hiatus. We've all seen those posts on social media, right? Leaving a hobby, or I'm taking a break. I won't be online posting. I don't, a lot of other people make comments. Bye, see ya. You don't have to announce it. No one cares. I'll never do that. You don't know what that person is dealing with or going through. And it might be something very healthy that they need to do. And so I won't make those sort of ignorant responses to it. And so maybe there's a good reason why they have to step away. So make time for other things. Again, that goes into scheduling. Okay. Make a schedule. If Saturday you've got to mow the lawn, take the kids to practice, make a schedule, put it in your phone, put it in your planner, make sure those things get attended to. The worst thing is you forget something because you're on eBay or posting or on a thread on social media, and then the significant other says, I did this. I took the kids. Where were you? Right? What are you going to say? I was buying this on eBay. I got a great deal. Not going to help you out. All right. Actually, it's going to make the situation worse. So make time, plan. Don't neglect things. Okay. If you get to your wit's end, you've tried to do things on your own to break the stranglehold that the hobby has on you, and it's to no avail, then maybe you need help. So I have a number here. This is a national addiction helpline. Okay. It's not just drug and alcohol, from what I'm being told. This is any sort of addiction. You can reach out to them, and I hope you do. If you're in this predicament, it's not over. You're not doomed. There's help out there. And so here's the number. It's 1-800-662-HELP, which is 4357. So 1-800-662-4357. Don't hesitate. Reach out, call someone, talk to somebody. If you don't want to talk to someone you don't know on this helpline, talk to a loved one, a family member. Tell them you need some help, some advice. Maybe someone local where you live, a medical professional, or an addiction professional can help you in person rather than on the phone. And please, if someone is telling you that this might be an issue, listen to them. Get the help you need. Your relationships can be salvaged. Family relationships between family members, marriages with spouses, and the like. And you can still get to a healthy balance. I'm not here to tell you to quit the hobby necessarily or get out. Maybe a break if that's what's needed, but you just got to balance the hobby. I'm married 21 years. Some days I'm better at it than others, no doubt, full disclosure. But I've managed to balance that out. And I've balanced that out being, having Newman Sports Cards as my side business. And now 3 or 4, I don't even know how many podcasts I do. This podcast, Sports Card Nation, Roughing the Passer, and then I appear on Hobby Hotline here. So, just make a schedule, play to it. I mean, with me, I just let my wife know I actually kind of let her know a week in advance. Tuesday, I'm going to be in my office from 5 to 6 interviewing a guest for Sports Card Nation. Saturday, I'm going to be on Hobby Hotline. It's my turn to be on it, and those sort of things. I communicate in advance so she knows where I'm, what I got coming up, where I'm going to be, and it works for me. And it may work for you, and there's other ways to also get on the same page with family, spouses, and whatnot. So again, I hope the best for everyone with what we just talked about with the COVID-19. Stay safe, stay healthy. Getting back to what this show is about, reach out to someone. Even if I'll say I'm not a medical professional, but if you want to DM me or talk to me, reach out. I'll gladly talk to you to see if I can do what I can do, or at least give you the information you need to get the help you may need. So the hobby is a great hobby, but like any great thing, sometimes too much is too much. And so there's a balance. I hope you get there. If you're not there already, and be healthy, mental health wise, and the like. So any questions, by all means, reach out to me. I'm here to help you in any way I can. Again, I'm not a medical professional, but if anyone's in a rough spot, I'd love to try to at least help you or point you in the right direction. So that's going to do it. Again, I hope everyone's doing okay, doing well. If you like this show, Hobby Quick Hits, please subscribe, like, give us a good review, a good rating. We really do appreciate it. So with that being said, we'll see you next time.